Hey everyone, real quick before this video starts, I just wanted to make a quick disclaimer. I am recording this on March 28th, or what should be my last day of editing, and I just noticed that 22 hours ago, Mr. Gigi uploaded a review for this movie. Obviously, I was bound to talk about the same movie as someone. I didn't know it would happen this fast though, and within this soon of when I was going to talk about it. I just want to make it super clear that in no way did I copy Mr. Gigi. I watched through his video and we do make a lot of the same observations, but that's purely coincidental. I just knew it might look strange because in my last video, Mr. Gigi was someone who I referenced as someone who inspired me to start making these. That being said, in between work and classes, these videos still take me a couple weeks to create, and you can see right here on the screen that I did the recording session for this video on March 23rd. I just don't want anyone to think I went out and copied his video because trust me, these take me a really long time to make. A link is in the description if you want to go watch it. I loved it. I love all of his videos. But that's all I wanted to say. Let's just get into the actual video now. Hey everyone, I'm BrandonByDesign, and Polaroid is certainly a movie. See, after Netflix saw that on my account I watched through the movie Dead Con multiple times, it seems to have gotten the idea that it should start suggesting to me more horror movies that nobody liked. Does that make my job of finding films to talk about easier? Maybe. Does Netflix's willingness to buy absolute garbage just to fill up their platform with as much content as possible mean that I likely won't run out of movies to talk about anytime soon? Probably. Does it bother me that my recommended tab on Netflix is now completely ruined? Kind of, but here we are. Seeing the trailer for this movie on Netflix definitely dug up some memories I had of seeing this movie advertised on Facebook, like a long time ago. And it turns out I was right. This film was originally announced in 2015, was completed by May of 2017, and was set to release in August of the same year. Then the movie got delayed a few times, and Harvey Weinstein happened. You see, Polaroid was produced by Dimension Films, or as I know them, that logo that showed up at the beginning of Spy Kids films before that Troublemaker Studios kid. Point being that Dimension Films' parent company at the time was the Weinstein Company. You might know where this is going, but after Harvey Weinstein was exposed as a sexual predator, a whole bunch of films found themselves in limbo while the company tried to figure out what they were going to do. The result of all this was Weinstein getting sentenced to 23 years, the Weinstein Company filing for Chapter 11, and a separate company called Lantern Entertainment forming and purchasing the Weinstein Company's assets. One of those assets being Polaroid. The film ended up just going to video on demand in late 2019 before Netflix picked it up earlier this year. This film definitely had a rough start, but it turns out we weren't really missing out on much by not getting to see it in 2017. The movie is actually based on a short film, and it probably should have just stayed that way, because stretching this concept out to feature length didn't work too well. Where DeadCon tried to make modern technology and the internet scary, Polaroid tried to make, well, Polaroid cameras scary. The movie kicks off with these two girls, Sarah and Linda, opening a box of stuff that belonged to Sarah's mom. I'm going to call Sarah Cheryl because I can't see her as anyone else besides Cheryl Blossom from Riverdale, and if that really bothers you, then don't worry, she dies quick anyway. Linda finds a red plastic ball and deems it appropriate to throw it across the room, and then Cheryl finds her mom's old camera. Linda shows Cheryl a picture of her mom, and Cheryl says,
"I've never seen that one before. Looks like just before she died."
Little on the nose there. Cheryl also says that her mom got the camera from a city auction. Linda then gets excited and says that Craig liked her picture of her in lingerie, which seems to upset Cheryl. Linda suggests to Cheryl that she should take one too, and Cheryl agrees, but says she wants the picture to be
one of a kind, something only he'll have a copy of.
So are Cheryl and Craig dating? Because it doesn't really seem like they are. Otherwise, I would have thought Cheryl would be more upset about Craig liking pictures of other girls in lingerie. But if they're not dating, then Cheryl's just taking a picture of herself in lingerie that she plans on just handing a physical copy of to a guy that she's not dating. That's weird, right? Regardless, Cheryl decides that the first thing she wants to use her dead mom's old camera for is to take a lewd photo for some guy. They take it, and the first thing Linda asks when she sees it printed is
it broken?
I get it. It's old technology and these are young people, but is there anyone who seriously doesn't know how these cameras work? Instant film cameras are literally popular again. I'm pretty sure everyone just knows that the picture takes a little while to develop. Linda gets jump scared by a text and says she has to go. And I just want to say that this lingerie picture literally shows none of Cheryl's body and just looks like a picture of her in a tank top. It's not a provocative photo in the slightest. Some time passes and Cheryl hears the camera making noises by itself, and she notices that the developed picture shows a shadowy figure behind her, and all her lights go out. Sarah starts getting concerned and looking around the house, and that dumb plastic ball falls from the attic. Even though she should probably just be trying to leave the house at this point, she decides to climb up into the attic and check things out. And I'm going to take this time to say that this movie's sound design is terrible. By that, I mean how egregiously loud they make things just to add to the jump scare. Yes, I would rather if jump scare sounds came from within the film's universe, but that's not earned if to do that you have to make things unrealistically loud. Just listen to the sound effect. That was supposed to be the sound of the ladder to the attic falling to the ground. That sounded like a crane dropping a fucking piano 20 stories to the ground onto concrete, not a ladder falling 8 feet down on one end. Next, Cheryl starts hearing some wheezing before getting spooked by and subsequently killed by whatever this being is. After the title card, we see a picture day at a high school, and we meet our main character, Bird Fitcher, and she is taking her school picture in a scarf. And the movie is going to make it very obvious that the scarf is supposed to be very important to this character. We even see that she's getting bullied for it, and the kids call her Scarf Girl.
Look, it's Scarf Girl.
Now, I really hate to go here, but I have to. Now, remember in Ready Player One when Samantha kept talking about how ugly she is in real life? But it turns out she's actually just a very conventionally attractive girl with a birthmark on her face? Well, that's basically what they're trying to do with this lead character, but with a scar on her neck from a car accident. They don't actually ever imply that she's ugly, but they really hammer down the idea that she's getting bullied for wearing a scarf. It doesn't really add up for me. Of course, I'm not saying that conventionally attractive people don't have problems or can't be bullied, but holy shit, could any of these movies just cast anyone besides a model to play the misfit character for once? Outside the school, Bird creepily snaps a picture of the guy she's crushing on, and he notices, but she rides away to her job at an antique shop. The shop owner's nephew, Tyler, comes into the store and tells Bird that he got her something from the yard sale he was at, and it's the camera from the beginning. Bird tests the camera out by taking a picture of Tyler, and while they wait for it to develop, Tyler tries to lean in for a kiss from Bird, and she ain't about it. She heads home and sees her mom, who is about to go to work. I'll just explain now that the car accident where Bird got her neck scar actually ended up killing her dad, so her mom works a lot because they're struggling financially. Upstairs, Bird takes out her camera, and her dog doesn't like it. The dog keeps backing away from it as she goes to take the picture, but luckily, the dog barks before she takes the picture as her friend Casey walks in the room. Casey and Bird start talking about how Casey's mom found out that she's a lesbian and isn't happy about it.
So how's your mom?
Still not talking to me, so that's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, she told my brother she's praying on it. Like, that's gonna fix me.
But this is never brought up again. Casey being a lesbian has actually no effect on the story at all. It feels a lot more like it was just shoved into the script to meet a diversity quota. I'm all for representation in movies, but it feels a lot more corporate than well-meaning when you put dialogue like that in the movie without any payoff. Casey asked Bird if she's going to the party, and Bird said she doesn't know because it's a weeknight, and it's a costume party because one of the popular girls missed Halloween while she was on vacation in Belize. Now, I know this is going to be really surprising to hear, but I never went to a party in high school. I know. That being said, even though I wasn't a popular party goer in high school, that doesn't mean I don't know that there were never parties on weeknights, because it just doesn't make sense to have a party on a weeknight. Also, picture day is very early in the school year, right? Like late August, early September. But this is a costume party to make up for the girl that missed a Halloween party that should have been in late October. Timelines really just aren't adding up here. Regardless, Casey tells Bird that she brought her a costume already and convinces her to go to the party with her. They get into a car with their friends Mina and Devin and head to the party, and Bird glances at the photo she took of Tyler and notices the shadow figure in it. Back at the antique shop, Tyler tests an old projector and notices a shadow appear on the screen. He tries wiping the lens, but then sees that the shadow is moving, and he grabs a crowbar and carefully moves towards the screen to attack whoever is behind it, but he realizes that no one's there. He starts hearing the wheezing we heard earlier, and turns around to see the sheet floating in midair before it jump scares and kills him. Bird and the gang get to the party and we meet the party's host, Avery, dressed as a fortune teller. She gives them all a tarot card, giving Mina and Devin the lovers, Casey the fool card, and tells Bird to just take a card from the deck. Bird draws the death card and asks if she can draw again, but Avery says that's not how it works. Sure, but it also doesn't work by just assigning whatever card you want to your friends. Later at the party, Bird spots a guy staring creepily at her with a mask, but it turns out that that's just her crush, Connor. He asks how the picture she took of him turns out, and she tries to talk her way out of it, but Connor is actually into her. Bird also says this about how she got her name.
Dad gets all the credit. Thought I looked like a little Cornish game hen when I was born.
That's just fucked up. Connor and Bird flirt a little bit and talk about her camera before Mina and Devin walk up and they decide to take a group photo. They struggle to get a good selfie, and Bird offers to take the picture with her camera. Mina then says this.
Someone shops at Urban Outfitters?
Now, I don't really live anywhere near an Urban Outfitters, and I've never actually been to one, so this line really stuck out to me, mostly because I didn't understand why a camera indicated to her that she shopped at what I presumed to just be a clothing store. But I looked it up. And for a short while, Urban Outfitters was exclusively selling reproductions of these cameras. The camera that has been called out by name multiple times in the movie. This whole movie is just an ad for the Polaroid SX70 at Urban Outfitters. Take that information as you will, but last time a movie was this blatantly just an ad for a product, it was Ouija. And that didn't go so well either. Connor says that Bird should be in the picture too, but she insists on just taking it, which she does, and Casey photobombs at the last minute. Bird sees the shadowy figure appear when she takes the photo, but doesn't notice it in the picture when it develops. Avery comes up and takes a selfie with the camera, and she is also unfamiliar with how cameras work.
It's blank.
And downstairs, someone shouts out that the cops have showed up to the party, but they're only here for Bird. They end up taking her to the police station to ask her about the last time she saw Tyler, and to let her know that he was found dead. He asks her a few surface-level questions before telling her to call if she hears anything else about it. I have a couple problems with these scenes. One of them is that the cops don't care about this party full of minors drinking alcohol at all. I know the murder is more important, but it seems weird that they would send multiple officers to a party just to take Bird into the station and then do nothing about the other crimes happening right in front of them. It's also weird that they even knew she was at this party at all and tracked her down here. The last complaint I have may or may not be valid, but did they really have to take her all the way to the station just to ask her a few questions? They don't ever treat her like a suspect, and she's not in any sort of interrogation room where they could be filming her answers. So it seems pretty excessive that they would send officers to track her down at a party in the middle of the night and bring her down to the station just to ask when she last saw Tyler and if he was acting normal. Maybe that does all make sense, it just was weird to me. Avery kicks the last of the partygoers out of her house, walks around in the dark, and notices some weird sounds. She sees a figure in her living room and tries to run from it, but it grabs her as she screams and makes that iconic wheezing sound. The next day, Bird gets a call from Casey that Avery was found dead after falling down her basement stairs. Bird gets concerned and checks the photos again to find that the shadowy figure is gone from Avery's photo and has appeared in the group photo. Bird has figured out that the camera is responsible at this point and tries to throw it at her wall, but it throws out a force field of sorts and it looks pretty bad. The next day at school, there is a little memorial set up for both Tyler and Avery, where a lot of students are placing roses next to lit candles. Seems like a bad idea, but also there's no chance that students actually brought roses to school for this. Casey catches up with Bird and describes how they found Avery.
I heard her parents came home and found her at the bottom of the basement steps, like head completely turned around, full-on exorcist style.
And I'm trying to figure out how the police could find someone with their head turned completely backwards and determine that that happened while falling down the stairs. The gang meets in the cafeteria, and Bird tries to explain what she thinks is going on with the photos and how the shadowy figure is moving from picture to picture.
It's not a smudge. It's the exact same.
Looks like a smudge to me. Guys.
And Devin gives his thoughts on her theory.
Good one, Bird. You should submit that shit to Creepypasta.
Yikes. Devin says that if she's really concerned about the photo, then he will just burn it, which doesn't seem like a bad idea, but he's also really not at all worried about lighting something on fire in the school's cafeteria. Once the flame reaches where Mina's arm would be in the photo, her arm in real life starts to catch on fire. The whole cafeteria goes into a panic, and Connor grabs the fire extinguisher to try to put her arm out. It doesn't seem to be working, and Casey starts feeling the heat too, until Bird realizes that she has to put the fire out on the picture. Once she does that, the arm fire goes out, and the picture restores itself. Personally, considering her arm spontaneously combusted right after setting the picture on fire, I would think that they would have caught on to the fact that they have to extinguish the picture faster, but maybe not. So we learn that the photos are basically like voodoo dolls. They talk a little bit in the hospital waiting room, and they decide that they need to get the camera case from the antique shop to figure out who it might have belonged to before them, and since the antique shop is still a crime scene, Bird sneaks in through the vent. Honestly, I really don't think that crime scenes that still have bloody sheets inside should be left unattended the day after a murder. Connor, who is waiting in the car, examines the picture closer and notices something that concerns him. In the shop, Bird has gotten a hold of the camera case, but the monster thing starts to appear in front of her. She makes a run for it, but inexplicably falls, and the monster reaches its hand to her and burns itself on the radiator. Bird runs back to the vent, and her scarf gets caught on a nail, and Connor unwraps it, and they run back to the truck. So my first thought was that the police were going to find her scarf at the crime scene and start to suspect Bird for the murder or something, but that doesn't happen. This scarf symbolism thing is just done now, but it was never used appropriately as a symbol in the first place. Bird's character doesn't change at all now that her scarf is gone, and it's not like she shed the past in any way. The scarf is just gone, and nothing changes. What I'm saying is that setting up the scarf was a waste of time. They drive off, and Bird tries to explain what she saw and asks why it's coming after her, and Connor tells her that she is in the picture, just in the reflection of the window. Between the camera covering her and the shadow, you can barely see half of her face. So my question is, what really qualifies as being in the picture? If someone's arm was just in the side of a frame, would they also qualify to be killed by the monster? I understand why they wanted to keep the rules vague, because it's easier, but vague rules in a horror movie just lead to things that don't make sense. Back at the hospital, Devin is in Mina's room and the lights flicker, so he says he'll go get a nurse, which is, whatever at this point. While Devin is out in the hallway, Bird calls Mina to tell her that she's in danger and shouldn't be alone. Devin, for some reason, goes behind the desk to check out a door, and I'll just show you this part because it's just weird.
Hello? Shit! Hello?
What are you doing over there?
Devin goes back to the room and follows a trail of blood behind a curtain, and he sees Mina fall from the ceiling as if she hanged herself. Bird and Connor get back to the hospital, and Devin decides to blame everything on Bird.
You did this.
No, she didn't. Yeah, I get it. He wants someone to blame, whatever. But the resentment he has and the amount he holds Bird responsible for all of this for the rest of the film is just ridiculous. Also, I really love this face. Bird starts to monologue to Connor in the hallway about how it's her fault that her dad died in the car crash because she didn't want to go somewhere, so he had to turn around, which caused the car crash. And really, I don't care. They look at the camera case, and inside they find an evidence tag with a date, so they dig through the library's archives to find a story about the crime. This is also something you could definitely just Google, but I guess that's just not as exciting visually. They find a story about a high school photography teacher who killed and tortured 3 of his students and took pictures of it at their high school. The story also tells them that the teacher was killed by police before he could be arrested. All of this leads them to discover that Bird's camera was the one that the teacher used during the crime. The gang, minus Mina, meet at a diner with no lights on, and Bird explains this.
When it was coming after me, it got near something hot, and it did this, weird blurry thing.
Bird theorizes that this monster can only develop in the dark and when there's not too much heat around, like a photo. She also says this.
Maybe it only develops in the dark, that's why it's not here now.
There's no lights on in this diner. I'm pretty sure it would be dark enough. They just ramble on for a while, and the waitress drops something. Same. And Devin grabs the camera and threatens to take a picture of Bird. Connor intervenes and tries to grab the camera away, and they accidentally take a picture of Devin. This is also where the pictures start developing way faster than they ever have before, for plot convenience. They see the shadow figure move from the group photo to Devin's photo, confirming to them that the most recent photo taken is the target. Devin starts holding the camera like a gun, saying he's going to change the order again, and Casey grabs a pencil and stabs it through Devin's hand in the photo, putting a hole right through Devin's hand. The hole also has no depth and absolutely no blood, because we really need that PG-13 rating. Devin starts getting really aggressive towards Casey, and a cop tries to pull him back, but the cop gets backhanded. Devin is in holding, and Bird and Connor are trying to explain to the sheriff that Devin is in danger because of the monster, and reasonably, the sheriff doesn't buy it. But they had ways of proving this was real that they definitely should have tried. Show them the hole in Devin's hand that didn't bleed at all. Or even take scissors and cut off a piece of Connor's hair in the photo to show that it cuts Connor's hair in real life. I'm just saying Devin's life is on the line, and there were simple ideas that they never tried. The sheriff starts getting really defensive and saying he doesn't want Bird and Connor going anywhere near the house that they found out the teacher, Roland Joseph Sable, lived in. Casey does research and finds out that Roland's wife still lives there, so they go check it out despite the sheriff's wishes. Bird convinces the wife to let them in by saying she has Roland's camera, but his wife, Lena Sable, says that the camera wasn't Roland's, but their daughter's, Rebecca Jane Sable. Some of you might try to make fun of them for giving their daughter the same initials, but I think giving family members the same initials might just be a white person thing, because me and my sister have the same initials. Back at the station, Devin gets killed by the monster because it's able to turn off the lights which seems OP to me. I don't think it should have the ability to affect lights being on if lights are one of its weaknesses. Also, I know that police stations can close, but I don't believe that they would hold someone in holding overnight while no one was present. Regardless, the point of this scene is just that the monster kills Devin. Lena Sable lets Bird and Connor into their daughter's old bedroom and explain to them what happened to her daughter and husband. She says that she and her husband gave their daughter the camera, and she started taking it with her everywhere, to the point where she was being bullied at high school and called Camera Girl. I just don't think this movie has any idea of how bullying works. Lena says that 4 kids at school had Rebecca hang out with them, and they took sexual pictures of her with the camera and started passing them around the school. Rebecca started getting bullied so badly that she hanged herself, and when Roland saw the pictures they took of Rebecca, he snapped and wanted to kill the kids who took them. Somehow he was able to kidnap all of them and kill 3 of them in the school's dark room, and police arrived as he went to kill the last one, but he was shot and fell into the dark room's water tank thing before he could. So that's an interesting twist, but surprise, it doesn't make sense. First of all, Lena says this.
The police confiscated all the pictures, but I held on to this one.
When would Lena have gotten hold of the pictures anyway? This camera prints the pictures as they're taken, so the pictures should have never left the crime scene. Also, this camera is definitely water damaged. There's no way that thing still works as well as it does. Also, we heard at the beginning that Cheryl's mom got the camera from a city auction, but I don't buy that. No matter how long ago the crime was, would the city really be auctioning off a key piece of evidence from a triple homicide? I just refuse to believe that. Anyway, the point of all this is that Roland's spirit now possesses the camera and is going to keep killing people it takes pictures of until he kills the last kid that took pictures of his daughter. And for some reason, Roland's spirit looks like this monster thing. So I will now just refer to the monster thing as Roland. Bird and Connor find out that Devin is dead, and Bird tells them to head back to the school because she has an idea on how to stop it. They're able to walk right into the school, which should definitely be locked, and they don't turn on a single light along the way, even though they know that Roland is affected by light. Bird finds the school's old yearbooks and tries to find the person who matches the picture of the last kid they got from Lena. Eventually, they find that the last kid Roland was trying to kill is the sheriff. They turn around and see that the sheriff found Casey in the hallway, and he tries to escort them out of the school. They confront the sheriff about what Lena told them, and Connor takes a picture of the sheriff before the sheriff knocks the camera out of Connor's hands, assuming that Roland will stop once he kills him. Once the picture's taken, the sheriff explains that Lena told them a fake story, and that Roland was actually the one taking explicit pictures of Rebecca, and all the 4 kids were doing was trying to get the pictures from her so they could take them to the police. Roland found out that they knew his secret, and was killing the kids to make sure that nobody ever knew what he was doing to his daughter. Rebecca ended up killing herself because of what her father did, and the sheriff proves his story by saying if you check the dates, you see that Rebecca killed herself after her father killed the kids. So Lena was basically complicit with what Roland was doing, and the story she told Bird and Connor was completely made up. It's too late though, because they already took the picture of the sheriff, and Roland is ready to kill. He does this by grabbing the photo of the sheriff and ripping it in half. I'll give the movie credit, that was pretty creative, but the PG-13 desire means that what should be a pretty gruesome showing just looks silly. Because a man is literally ripped in half, but there's no blood. Casey screams and trips for no reason, which is something we will see a fair amount of in this last little bit here, and Roland stabs her leg before Connor distracts him with a gunshot. Casey and Bird run in one direction and Connor runs in another, and the girls see Roland appear at the end of a long hallway they just entered. Roland runs down the long hallway, turning off lights as he goes, as the girls try to get a door open to get away. I will say that it's pretty spooky looking, but all I can think when I watch this is, if Roland can teleport, then why did he teleport to the end of such a long hallway instead of just teleporting closer to them? The girls get the door open at the last second and run into a room full of showers, and Bird remembers that Roland can't be where there's too much heat. She turns on all the showers, and Roland tries to come in after them, but gets burned when he tries to go near, so he leaves. Sorry, but if Roland can telepathically turn off lights, then why can't he just turn off these showers? Bird gets up to go find Connor and tells Casey to stay there until she gets back. She ends up meeting up with Connor, and Connor confirms the shadow is still in their group photo, even though he killed the sheriff. Bird tells Connor that they have to get the camera and take Roland somewhere he will be fully formed, so they get the camera back, and Roland runs behind them and pulls Connor away from Bird. So she heroically grabs the camera and takes a picture of herself to get Roland away from Connor. This picture also fully develops literally instantly. Bird takes the camera and runs into the dark room, but she fucking trips and drops the camera. All the blinds in the room cover the windows, and she runs after the camera and narrowly grabs it as she's picked up by Roland. She snaps a picture, and this causes him to stumble and drop her. He knocks the camera away, but she already has the picture of him in her hand, and this photo has also developed instantaneously. She crumbles up the picture in her hand, which starts to crush Roland, but also fucks up a couple of her fingers that were in the frame. Despite being very crumbled, Roland starts crawling toward her, so she grabs a lighter and struggles to set the picture on fire. This was really annoying to watch because we just saw the damage you can do by ripping a photo in half. That would have been a lot easier and faster for Bird to do. She narrowly manages to set the picture on fire, which sets Roland and 2 of her fingers ablaze, which again could have been avoided by ripping the photo around her fingers. But Roland is completely destroyed by this, and the fire on her hand goes out. She meets up with Connor and Casey, and they check their group photo to see that the shadow is gone. In the last shot, Bird walks to the shore and throws the camera in the ocean. I would have rather seen her break the camera into pieces, which she should have been able to do since it's no longer possessed, especially considering this camera is apparently waterproof. But that's it. I would say this movie is slightly more watchable and somewhat less cringy than Dead Con, even though that's a pretty low bar. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 3 out of 10. As always, thanks for watching, and links to my Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram are in the description. If you feel so inclined to subscribe, I would appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with me. Peace.